Dear friends, I have a special guest. I'm not even going to say anything cute. It's my beloved. It's my wife. It's from the founder, the executive director of Lynn's Warriors, and my better half, Mrs. L. Welcome, darling.
Well, welcome. Thank you for having me. You are at a loss for words there, something that usually doesn't happen when you're introducing me to the
I've never called
audience.
anybody darling that
It
I've
does
spoken to.
sound,
It does sound a bit odd.
when we're talking to each other, yes.
Let us get down to brass tacks. What what do you think is most critical for people to understand regarding what you're doing and the plight and the travails of human trafficking and digital safety and what you are doing with the Warriors?
What I really think is that in 2025, we live in a new environment. We live in a new kind of community. Everything is different, right? I do think it is time for everybody to step up. They can and must really do something. I really mean that. I mean, for instance, today I spent, up until now, we're in New York City, down with the New York City Council. And people have to understand they have a voice. They are constituents, they pay taxes. They really need to show up and voice their opinions, ask questions, and also not accusatory, but how can we work together? I really mean this because I don't see any other way where we're at, in society, how we are going to really get in there and protect our children and our families and the overall environment. And I just want to say, you know, going to a city council, people have to understand, we normally talk about governors, senators, we talk about the president. The city councils across the country make make those laws for your communities. It is most important you show voice, you show your face to them and be part of your community.
What is the biggest issue that is issue or issues that are not being addressed?
There's so many. I think one thing we at the Warriors are really focused on in 2025 is bringing boys and men into the fold. The largest growing demo for human trafficking right now, boys, young boys, 8 to 16 years old. Who's talking about it? Nobody's talking about it. I'm talking about it. Young men, they are the largest demo for sextortion online, right? So why aren't we? Yes, traditionally numbers show, studies show, which, by the way, we need more up-to-date studies and money spent on that, right? And where these studies come from, but that's for another program. But why aren't we, uh, traditionally all these studies show girls and young women, women. But now boys, I just said, is the largest growing demo. So we should be talking about this and educating everybody about whether it's sex trafficking, labor trafficking, the online safety, how these people prey so easily on our kids. Because you know what? People still don't understand. You give your kid a phone, you're complicit unless you take steps talking to them, putting some guardrails on, and keeping an eye on everything. They really don't understand the public how serious this is, and we're losing the battle to all of
And
this predation.
they also have this notion of trafficking as being the guy in the white van who jumps out of a car. Granted, that might be it,
Yeah.
but the phone is the portal. That's how the traffickers get in. That's how sex stores. And I can't believe how
Mhm.
people can't believe how big sextortion is, where kids are happens all the time. They are lured to send pictures of themselves. Once they do this, they find out that the person that they
Yes.
thought they were communicating with is in fact somebody else, and they threaten the child to either pay money or to do whatever it is, perhaps maybe provide more pictures or what have you, unless they are humiliated. And some kids are committing, shall we say, self harm because of it. It's huge, but nobody talks about it. Why do you think that is?
Well, I also can't believe you open up a can of worms that people find this topic, which is very complex, right? Dark, ugly, but the reality that they cannot accept this is happening, or that they don't want to jump on board and be screaming in the middle of the streets like, not our kids, not on our watch. That's what I find unbelievable, that everybody can't automatically, it doesn't matter what political party you belong to, none of that. These are human rights abuses, our precious kids, our future adults and leaders. Why can't more people step up and get involved. Now, granted, in the last few years, I have seen an uptick. We have certainly seen more people since COVID when people became savvy to what's happening on computers. So we've made a tremendous dent in it, right? Legislation is not keeping up with it. People are not keeping up with it. In the meantime, kids are being attacked on a daily basis. On every second, a child is being attacked. And I also don't understand why we, as the parents, grandparents, or family members, whatever that family dynamic is these days, because we at the Warriors are very mindful. We have aunts and uncles raising children. We have older siblings raising children. It's a different dynamic today. Uh, why why can't we why can't we understand this is going on? Why can't we talk open and honestly? Because the kids are seeing everything on the phones, on the gaming, on their laptops, Chrome. They're seeing all kinds of sexual dialogue, images anyway. Yet the adults report, I don't want to open up the can of worms. I don't want to bring it up. I'm embarrassed. I don't want to talk about it. Yet I maintain, let you talk about it with facts and reality as opposed to a stranger online.
Don't you think that if most kids found out that they are being targeted for sextortion and the like, that they themselves would, if they recognize it, they would say, "Oh, I know what this is," because nobody wants to be a part of it. Nobody wants to be a victim. It's not cool. So if they merely are aware of this, we could prevent this from happening. So the only thing keeping them from being victims is us, parents, people, not explaining this to kids. Because I believe once they are, it's one thing for kids to say, "Don't look, that's dirty, that's nasty." Good luck with that. But
Right.
once you tell a kid, don't ever answer or engage in pictures. Little side timeout. The other day we were walking with somebody who was a person younger than us, but I think in her 30s, and there was garbage or something on the ground or something. And you had said, "Oh, baby, look, nobody picked that up." And this person we were with, this younger, again in her 30s, she said, "Oh, no, no, that could be laced with fentanyl." Now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, nobody would have ever said that. They would have said, "You're right, we should pick." So already regarding fentanyl, minds have changed, awareness has changed. If we could take that and apply it just to tell kids, never, ever, ever do this.
Yes.
If you never take a picture of yourself, you will never be the victim of sextortion. Much like we always tell kids, never take a tablet or an aspirin or anything from anybody. We could save lives by just guaranteeing that those two behaviors are maintained. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. And we at the Warriors, our mission also very heavily going through this new year is getting into the schools. We're starting next month in Jersey City, in New Jersey. And we're going in because you have to, when I say form partnerships, right? Kids could be scared of you or me or adults. We have to put them at ease a little bit. We have to include them in our work. Let them tell us like what's going on online, not just what we're reading or studying or hearing about or know of. Let the kids report to us. That's when I say form these partnerships. They will feel empowered and important if they're part of the conversation, discussion, and help us come up with solutions. So let's bring them into the fold. But you're very correct in saying the indicators. Kids, parents still don't know or acknowledge the indicators of what is going on. So we all have to do a better job of just talking about it.
What are
We
the
can't,
indicators?
well, let me just finish. We can't leave it up to
Sure.
schools or government or healthcare. I wish every school had in their health program, those who even have a health program, a course on internet safety type of thing. They don't. Why don't we have that? Because we've certainly had enough of this, sex education, whatever you want to call what has been going on. Um, I I don't know what we have to do other than I stand on a box and really scream, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep doing what we do with the Warriors. Indicators are very simple. recently, let me use an analogy so people can understand. There was a 14-year-old boy in Texas, and straight A student, helped around the house, mother and father in the house, did everything correctly. And he started getting very withdrawn. He started spending a lot of time in his bedroom with the door closed. He started losing a lot of weight. He started getting bad grades in school. And right then and there, when your child changes that drastically, now teenagers, it's hard, they isolate a little bit, going through hormonal changes and things, but in your gut as a parent or a caretaker when something is not right. So instead of ignoring that, you must address it some way, shape, or form. And what happened in that story is the mother who provided the child, the mother and father gave this teen a phone. The mother thought, well, it's his phone. I don't want to invade his privacy. But she one night went in and she took the phone. I mean, she's paying for it. So it's the family phones, in our warrior's opinion. We all own them. It's not your device, my device. And she took his phone while he was sleeping and went through it. And she found out that he had developed a relationship with a bot, a fake person, a fake, not even a
Now
person, a fake
explain that.
character.
A bot, when this is not, this is sort of AI a bit, correct?
Yes, an AI creation of a character from a well-known animation movie. I'll just leave it at that. A female, and the 14-year-old's a boy, and they had been into this relationship for about 6 months, unbeknownst to the mother, and very heavily, the mother was shocked. She's going through all this, fast forward to this bot was directing as this child poured out complaints about his family, his life, his this, his that. This bot, which is gathering all this information, right? That's the whole thing with AI and bots and all this talk we have lately. What's happening with all that information? Where is that information going? How will that information be used for positive, against somebody? And this bot was actually directing this 14-year-old boy to unlive his parents. And in like the next 2 days, the mother caught it just in time and therefore took care of things and obviously filed a case. But that goes into, I don't understand why parents are so hesitant
Wait a minute. Do we know
to,
who this bot was, or was that followed up? Did
well,
we?
yes, there's a lawsuit going on right now with the platform, right? But here's the thing, as you know, and the public, we have to keep telling them, even though it's a little bit boring, when people say, why are these platforms allowed? All of that, why is the predation allowed? Why is because they have Section 230 of the
Right.
Communications Decency Act, which is from 1996, this old antiquated piece of, safety kind of legislation that says we're a billboard. Any platform is a billboard. We're a newsstand. We can't
But
be held
here's the thing.
responsible.
Let me just go back again. Understand that in this wonderful world that we live in, somebody, somewhere, some entity decided to create this bot, this virus. Think of it of almost like a personality virus that gets to know. This is what I have been talking about forever when it comes to AI and how these are becoming almost surrogates for friends. But they start talking, and then all of a sudden they will switch to something evil. Now, we don't know who is this person, and somebody will ask you, well, why would they want to do that? I don't care why they would want to do that. We don't know why they would want to do that. That we don't know. Not sure. Unsure. The issue is that it happens. So it's not for parents to, because they can't fathom or understand or grasp, that's not the issue. It's also going to get worse. So in the old days, parents have always had to pay attention to kids. Could be drugs, could be drinking, could be a relationship. Yeah. Might be just plain old garden variety mental health, depression and the like. It's even worse now. So parents have to vaccinate and immunize their children against this by parents being aware and kids, because if everybody knew this, if this kid recognized this thing is going to tell you to do terrible things. In fact, if parents could use this as a teaching advice. Hey, little Murray, come here. Did you hear about this? This is a bot. Did you hear what this kid did? Share it, teach it, use it, expose it. I mean, again, immunize them with the facts.
Yes, I agree with that. That if we can use these real stories, as horrible, as dark as they may seem and painful, there are a lot of family members out there that are sharing the stories of lost voices of fentanyl. That is the name of the group that we at the Warriors are affiliated with. And it is heartbreaking every day to see the postings that come our way, Forever 12, Forever 16. The stories are very similar most of the time. The child bought a drug online, or the child was given, a pill, even by mistake, by a friend, didn't even know. The friend bought an aspirin online, gave it to somebody, they died, even a half a pill. So it comes around to, we have to create this environment of awareness. I know it sounds very kind of basic, but because I witness every single day this closing the door, not wanting to talk about it, or complete shock, in denial, like, oh, that doesn't happen, or my child would never do that. But you're handing them a device that is opening up your front door to the world with no guardrails. Now, the good news, let me go back, this section 230. 30 years ago, so much has changed with the internet, right? That is, right now, there is a bill, a piece of legislation. There's two things happening: to sunset it, get rid of it, create something new, or amend, which definitely it should be amended. There are several pieces of child legislation, not to invade anybody's privacy, but to hold big tech platforms accountable. They must bear some of the burden of what is going on. After all, children are the product. Those are the eyes. That's why we have kids swiping, swiping, swiping. They can't concentrate because they've grown up in this digital bubble where they're used to, I don't like that picture, let me swipe to the next one. A constant addiction, and it is truly an addiction. We have many studies about all of this. There is true internet addiction. But here's the good news, because there's a lot of hope out there. The hope is a lot more people are aware. We're talking about it. Everybody needs to talk about it. Everybody needs to get educated. You can't say, I didn't grow up, because I hear this one a lot with the internet. You didn't, and I didn't. And most people didn't. But you know what? They use it every day. We're in a digital world. It's not going away. So let's talk about it. Let's put our own guardrails, but let us empower the kids. The good news also is the alpha generation, born 2010. So these kids are, 14 and under. They are rejecting. So when I say the pendulum is slightly swinging back, they're rejecting more of the internet. That's not to say they're not using it. They're rejecting, they want to spend more time with books. They want to spend more time even watching reruns of old TV shows that we knew, like Friends. We bring that out.
Friends.
That's a big hit among 12-year-olds and 24-year-olds. They want to see what New York life, friends living together. So there is that swing back.
But
Now
you said friends. People actually,
relationships.
right.
They want to see, and they also want to see shows with family dynamics. The two top shows right now are Friends and Golden Girls, about the four women living together in Florida, and those are a group of older women. They want to see this kind of close-knit, critical thinking and helping each other, and solving problems and living together. And we forget, because we lived through all these things. The kids never really witnessed that, right? And it's nobody's fault. Parents are busy, or parents are working, parents are overwhelmed trying to pay bills. The devices have become kind of the babysitter, for lack of a better
Well,
word, also.
on another, I mean, this is completely different, but in a strange way, similar. Some of these younger folks were surprised by The Sopranos only because they were saying this was on TV, meaning something this deep and involved with storylines and plots. Granted, N words and terrible words. But the point is,
Yes.
they are bereft of complexity. I want to say something before I forget, please. On your website, lynswarriors.org, there is a section which every parent must pay attention to, regarding how you can make devices themselves safer through bark and protect young eyes, and explain that. And I will put a little segment here, because parents parents cannot claim ignorance anymore. There are
Right.
devices you can use to control and to watch and to monitor your children's phones because remember, you're paying for them. They're your phone. People would have no problem in trying to protect a car, making sure the
Right.
engine was correct, making sure even sometimes parents might not have a problem with wanting to know where their kids are going. I don't want to go that far, but the point is explain this.
There's a wealth of products, there's a wealth of free resources right at your fingertips. We at the Warriors really try to give out as much as possible, free, 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 but you have to know about there's free. I'm going to recommend a couple of things. I'm going to start at the top. Right now, there's a tremendous push. They're calling them dumb phones. So we say smartphones for years, where adults are turning onto these, they're using now these dumb phones. For instance, it'll just be the phone, the text, and they can get their emails. They're not getting the ads. They're not getting constant this, that, bells, whistles, and they're loving it. I actually posted a story today about this. Uh,
The old flip phones, the
it's
tack
it's ba it's
phones.
basically the old, but
Yeah,
going into that for kids. See, this is where if I was, going to buy a phone for my child, and again, there's parental autonomy. We suggest delay is the way, wait until eighth. No child really needs a phone before eighth grade. Okay, but it's up to you, right? But no 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and we hear this all the time. They have phones. We bought them a phone. There's problems with the phone. That is up to you. We can't judge on that. I'm going to remind everybody again, wait until 8th. Delay is the way. There's a great company called Gab, Gabb. Gab, it looks like an iPhone, but all it has is, phone calling and text kind of thing, or whatever you put on that phone, but it has no internet capability, okay, at all, right? And kids don't feel left out. Maybe your child's in the 7th grade and you want to give them a phone or something for their birthday. But this phone is a safe feature and you program in, grandma, home number and things like that. They have a device. The other thing is there is a company called Bark, Bark. And for a small fee every month, they monitor. And we are, I have to admit, part of the Bark program.
that's
Um,
the best. That's a great program.
And this is the program I would recommend in this day and age with the work we do, because nobody can keep up with these predators. They are always, we say there's 10 steps ahead, they're a million steps ahead. How they think of these things, I don't know, because we don't think of these things because our minds are not like that, the criminal mind. And this monitoring device will let you know that, oh, my child received inappropriate dialogue or inappropriate images and alert you right away. Now, we have kids who have Bark phones, and I'm talking teenagers now that will say, oh, mom, dad, Bark alert. Even though the parents are also getting it, the kids are becoming a little savvier, like, not on my watch. And I want to go back to something you said before I forget. When kids understand that the internet is using them,
Right,
is making a buck off their backs, they
right.
get very upset because they're kids, they don't understand this. But once you break it through to them, like they just care about your eyeballs. They don't care about you and somebody's going to, sextortion with you. They don't care somebody's bullying you online. They just want your money and your eyeballs. Kids will wake up and they become very angry. And I think that's a good thing, putting them on alert kind of thing. But also, I'm going to go back again like a broken record. You need to establish this open communication. There is no embarrassment, even if your child, and this is a tough one, has done something. They have to know they can come to you and say, and then you have to know this is criminal, anything with a minor. You have to know 911 immediately, file a case. You have to know cybertipline.org, file that case, because we must start holding those who cause harm accountable.
And it's a very simple thing. Also, one of the things that it's always great for kids to know is for you as the parent to let them know how you are avoiding scams. How you, for example, we always say, we hear it all the time, don't answer a phone if you get a strange call. Don't
Right.
answer it because it takes these are adults talking to each other because if somebody were to hear a second of your voice by virtue of AI, They can use your voice or whatever. So if your kids here, it's not just me. It's not just me because no kid wants to feel like a dumb kid. It's like, I'm not a dumb kid. You can say, no, 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 it's not you. It's me. We're all like this. But I'm going to put a link to Bark. We also had something. Remember a while back, was it Griffin? These are routers. There's a company.
Yeah, it's Griffin routers, but
Yeah. There are devices. And let me tell you something. If you go into a T-Mobile or Verizon, you're not going to find out about that there.
well,
They're not
well,
going to
let's
tell you
explain.
any.
But
They're not
let's
going to have
explain what
anything that limits I'm
we
not
have to
going to blame
explain.
them.
Explain. We have to explain what that is. Every home basically has a router in it if you have internet. Okay.
Right.
There's something called a Griffin router, and I will recommend to you, colleagues of ours, uh, protectyoungeyes.com. That's where you'll find the Griffin router. Now, protectyoungeyes.com, Chris McKenna, our great friend,
The best. The
gives
best.
away though these nuggets of information. He's got a whole booklet on the site for free, everybody. Apps. What does it do? What's the harm? Everything you need to know. He'll say, okay, here are the updates on the Apple iPhone you need to know about. Everything you need to know, free. So that's why I want to know why people don't use these free resources.
They
But
don't
you'll
know
find
this.
they have to know protectyoungeyes.com, but the
No, no,
Griffin
no.
router, you can
But
take you can take the Griffin router. You and me can be on the internet at night, right? As adults, but we can
mhm.
turn off what goes to the child's phone.
Oh
So
yeah,
people, and it's a very easy thing. It sounds a little complicated, but again,
not at all.
protectyoungeyes.com is a wealth of information. And I also want to point out there's another website called Defend Young Minds, defendyoungminds.com. And that is talking, and we have to talk about it. That is talking about your children age appropriately. And that's really from the beginning, like 3 years old, with the picture book about pornography,
Mhm.
because it is invading the children's lives. It is disturbing their minds. It is really having an effect. And we don't talk about it enough because who wants to talk about, all that darkness, nonsense? But a child could innocently, a 10-year-old, be looking at be doing their homework, okay? And they're using online. Now, that's another problem as I digress. We want to get the kids off the phones, off the devices, off the laptop, Chromebooks. Most schools have a government issued Chromebook. They're demanding the kids do their work on the Chromebooks, right? It's not the old fashioned, we had, hardcover textbooks. They're doing everything online. But as we rally to get kids off the line, offline, this is a big problem we're having, getting phones out of the schools. They're demanding kids do it. And that's, as I digress, kind of a school by school. There's no state law, there's no federal law. We have to, that's something everybody could work on if your child's in grade school.
I
Get the
want to.
phones. But I want to
I
just go
want to
back
also.
to,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. I just want to say something to people from my generation. When we heard the word pornography, it's almost like this is not Playboy. This is not, these are kids who are seeing violent, brutal, without going too much, kids who are, it's one thing to see nudes. It's another thing to see what most people think about in terms of normal human interaction, albeit sexual. We're talking about cases where kids, little boys, people are told, are suggested that normal for them in the course of their endeavors is choking, violence. They don't know better. Kids, little girls are being brought into emergency rooms. And this may sound crazy to you. Some young men may say, I didn't know.
They do
Because
say that.
kids have no judgment center. It's not it's I don't want to say it's not their fault. They're not adults. They have no judgment. They're executive center. They don't sit there. They can't weigh things. They can't say, no, wait a minute, this doesn't seem. They don't know this. It's impulsive. So when we talk about the word pornography, we need, and CSAM, child sexual abuse material, that, that I'm not talking, listen, I am the most open-minded. I think that sometimes the worst thing in the world to do is to scare kids about natural human sexuality, to become too prudish. I'm not talking about That ain't, we're not talking about that. This is a different world. And what you think you might be able to handle, a kid can't. That's all.
But also, a side note to that is this pornography being shown today, a lot of it is children in these videos. It's not to
Mhm.
adults even. This is an adult doing something to a child or to children, okay, being directed. So the little brains are seeing this and they can't unsee it. Remember, once you
Right.
see something, you really can't unsee it.
You
And how
can't
disturbing.
right. You can't unring the bell.
And
Right.
they say that. They report back like, or sometimes it leads them many times to they can't believe that happened, so they seek out more of it because
Let
they
us
want
do
to.
this. Let us not let's I'm going to, if people, the first thing to do is your website, which I'll put up there, linswarriors.org, has all of this information, which we will put in the description section. We want people to follow Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. It's critical. You are talking about your subject matter has, it, not only does it affect just this, but sometimes the news regarding Diddy or Jay-Z, kids also, remember, are inundated by this type of subject matter. So you're looking at the legislative, the scientific, the sociological, the medical, the psychological, the news. Follow Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. It's critical. And also your X or your, I'm finally saying X, but your X or Twitter is absolutely a must read to find out what's going on. And I will have that for you below. Any final words? There's hope. We don't want to scare people. We don't want people to feel like, oh my God, there's hope.
Well,
It's a very simple thing to do.
first of all, thank you for wanting to talk about this subject matter. I do think I used to be afraid of scaring people. I actually think we do have to scare people a little bit because if that gets them to sit up and take action, okay, especially if you're a parent or a grandparent, a family member, then it is our duty, our jobs, with platforms to let people know what's going on. Because again, the predators are winning. Now, that being said, there is so much hope. We have a new administration who is determined to
Oh,
work on the federal level with, remember, they just started not that long ago, a couple of weeks ago, to protect all children, right? I firmly believe a lot of doors are opening in the next couple of years. Issues will be brought to the table that haven't been addressed before or have been neglected. I also believe law enforcement, they're becoming better trained with all of this. Remember, this is all thrown at law enforcement too. How resources for law enforcement will be flowing more freely. They will be able to do their job and identify. And also, more resources will come, is my hope. I think so, for more places, safe houses, even programs for kids in schools, programs for parents. And so I'm very hopeful that we're going to get a handle on this. And I'm going to be very realistic here. I leave you with this. Will we stop all of this? Never. It's too far gone. It makes too much money for people, all of this predation. However, America is waking up and we will intervene and prevent new victims. And we will help all of those survivors as well. We have to also keep focus on helping those
well,
who've been harmed.
let me say this much. We may not be able to stop all of it, but if you listen to what Lynn's Warriors are saying, we'll be able to guarantee that it never happens to your kid. That we can guarantee. But you've got to become a part of it. That we can guarantee.
Yes.
Not the world, but your kid. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my darling. We will do this again. We will talk again. Lynn's Warriors. Please follow her on YouTube and also on X or Twitter at Lynn's_Warriors. Thank you.
Thank you.